to Monday night's Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Give me something good.
Andrew Wiggins' individual defense. Obviously, he's been matched up with Tatum a ton, forced him into 2 air balls in Game 5, and the rebounding, 13 rebounds after a big Game 4 where he had 16 rebounds. He's been awesome on that end of the floor.
Wiggins, spectacular. Give me something bad from Game 5.
Jason Tatum again in the fourth quarter, struggling. He was 1 for 5 in Game 5 in the fourth quarter. He's now 5 for 21 in the series in the fourth quarter.
We've got a couple of Dukies here, and that was Jason Tatum, the Duke star, struggling. And then finally, give me something ugly from Game 5.
Well, Jaylen Brown has had some great moments throughout these playoffs. In this series even, he was really bad in Game 5, and it comes down to a shot profile. 5 for 18 from the floor. 17 of those shots were tough, contested shots. They've got to figure out a way to get him some easy ones.
You brought up earlier today, this Golden State's defense has been sensational on the 2 Boston Stars. Brown with the 4 turnovers in the fourth quarters of Games 4 and 5 combined. Jason Tatum has not made a 2-point basket in either of those fourth quarters, and I promised that we are overrun with Blue Devils in our studio here as our buddy Jay Will has made his way across the hall. Delighted to have Jay Williams, JJ Redick, and the big fella Amari Stoudemire. But JJ, I'll come back to you first here to look at Tatum in particular. I know you have some tape put together on why he has been struggling here, particularly with the turnovers.
Yeah, with the turnovers, we talked about his ability to get by his primary defender. A lot of times on a switch, that is Steph Curry. And if you look at this, he's almost always picking up his dribble and playing off of 1 foot. He never comes to a jump stop. That one, he air mails into the 5th row. Watch Wiggins here. Wiggins is in a help position. He tries to play off 1 foot through Wiggins. All it takes is 1 dribble, simple pass to Marcus Smart. Now the Golden State Warriors are in rotation. There's not enough of that. Again, getting downhill, playing off of 1 foot. Kevon Looney with great help defense, and again, throws it an errant pass that leads to a Gary Payton foul.
I hate to say something this simplistic, but Jay Will, as I was watching the game, sitting next to our buddy Jalen Rose, he kept pointing out to me that on those drives, Jason Tatum's head is down. Frequently, he's not dribbling and sort of scanning the floor. And as a point guard yourself, Jay Will, and not that Tatum is a point guard, but in that situation, he kind of is. Well, you know what I mean. In that situation, Jay, I didn't mean to limit you, but in that situation, Tatum is sort of acting that way. He's got to be a playmaker. His head sometimes is down, and maybe he's not seeing the things that we're talking about here.
So the first 6.5 minutes of Game 5, he didn't take a shot.
Right.
And I'm very curious, when Jaylen Brown gets going a little bit, like they run some pin down, some curl actions, like they get the defense rotating side to side. If you're looking at a lot of these plays from Jason Tatum, it's in ISO scenarios or pick and roll. Like the defense knows what is going to come. I would love to see Ime Udoka get him going early by running some action for him, getting the defense to rotate a little bit, keep them guessing, because when everybody sees it coming, it makes it challenging.
How about it, Amari?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think you hit it spot on. With dribbling with your head down, you don't see where the defense is coming from. And make the simplicity play. As you penetrate to the basket and you're seeing the help guy there, just make the simple pass, and the guy that catches the ball be ready to shoot. I mean, it's a simple game if you break it down in that sense.
In some cases, it seems to me, the Celtics, who do not have your classic point guard, right? I mean, Marcus Smart's terrific, but he's spotting up. Marcus Smart is out there looking, and he's been knocking down threes, so give him his credit. But it is on Tatum and Brown generally to initiate that offense, and right now in the fourth quarters, they're really struggling to do it. It's as simple as that.
They stagnate, and I think Jay Will makes a great point there, and I broke down this for detail. It'll be out later today on Jason Tatum's Game 5. They need to get him in more action. They run a play, a lot of teams run it. Spurs used to run it from Manu Ginobili. It's called backside. It's a simple pin down for Tatum, and then he gets a dribble handoff from the 5. He was able to knock down a 3 on that play. They need more of that action. They need less ISOs. Golden State's loaded up, boxes and elbows. As I said, when he is in that slot against Curry, they're bringing that second help defender over early, and he's just not making the right reads.
And Greeny, I just want to add one point to JJ, because I think that's correct. And I'm not making any excuses. Look, this is the NBA Finals. We're going into Game 6. But when you look at the minutes logged for Jason Tatum at 24 years old, 945. Do you know the most minutes logged in the playoffs for Golden State? Klay Thompson, 200 minutes less.
Wow.
So think about that usage rate and think about ISO and what we're talking about here. Late in fourth quarter, heavy legs, man, to make those kind of shots at a young age.
The Warriors have gotten more off their bench in this series, generally speaking. They've gotten more from other places. And there's a look. At the end of the day, you want to be first team All-NBA. You want to, you want all the things that come with it. I mean, that's kind of what comes with it, right, Amari? You still got to find a way to do it.
You got to find a way. I mean, right now, you can't, like Jay saying, you can't make an excuse about it, right? Obviously, you're logging a lot of minutes, but you have to find a way to win down the stretch.
Yeah, my neck hurts a little just looking up at you.
Welcome to our lives daily.
One way or another. Okay, Jay Will, let's do factor.
My life daily.
We're going to set this thing up here. Factor fiction. Jay Will. Andrew Wiggins is the Warriors' second most important player. Factor fiction.
I would probably say that's a fact. He's their second most because of his role on the defensive end. Even his possession, everybody talked about Jordan Poole, but look how he fights over the top of the screen. Look how they blitz the screen again. And then here's the best part. Gary Payton gets a great contest on Jaylen Brown, but who comes up with the defensive rebound? Who gives the kick pass to Jordan Poole? So yes, most important player second, but I still can say the second most impactful player who can make runs is Klay Thompson.
Fair enough. Well, then let's get to him. If I were to say Game 6 Klay is going to show up tomorrow night, is that fact or fiction?
I don't think I need Klay to be prolific. It's not about the point totals to me, more so about the momentum he creates and when he gets going offensively. I think that's the more important detail related to Klay than everybody getting lost in Game 6. Klay.
And then finally, let's go to Steph. If I were to say he is going to be named the MVP of these finals, is that fact or fiction?
I mean, that's fact for me. I do say it does make it interesting if this comes down to a Game 7 moment, how a lot of people will say that game, like, where will Steph come to the party in a Game 7 at home? Well, that creates an interesting scenario.
You know, he comes off the game where he doesn't make a three the other night, JJ. I just saw you turn and look at Jay Will as he was answering that question as though
that's
there's some mystery here. We had a bit of a debate in the pregame on Monday night over whether he would be in position to be the MVP even if they lose, which has only happened once before, and that's Jerry West, and that got everybody yelling because they like to yell on that show with me. But generally speaking, I mean, if not Steph, who else would even be in line for that? He's been overwhelmingly, it feels to me, the most valuable player in this series, no?
Well, here's my thoughts on a player from a losing team getting MVP. To win a championship, you're ultimately going to need someone to step up big time. Someone will be worthy for the Celtics if they were to come back and win this series, even if Steph goes ballistic for the next two games.
Well, let's start with the question that's actually on the screen then. Maybe I skipped ahead to what I think. Is he going to do that?
He's angry. Steph to Steph. It's been 3 years since he had an offer, right? It's his first time in the playoffs. Like, it's an anomaly what happened in Game 5. He's been so good throughout this playoffs and in these finals. He absolutely will. Steph will be Steph.
Let me ask you, Jay. Let me ask him a question because you're as close to knowing the answer to this as almost any human being can be. I mean, Steph Curry's the greatest shooter ever, so no one knows what it's like to be him. But you know what it's like to be a great shooter. When you have a night where just nothing goes in, how does it feel the next game? Does it rattle you in any way? Like, what is your mindset going into the next game when you've had a night like that?
8 for 12. It's always been my mindset. It's always a regression to the mean. When I have an 0 for or a 1 for 10, it's always 8 for 12. If I get 12 good looks, I'm making 8.
You act like this guy has a conscience. Like the greatest shooters.
Steph doesn't have a conscience.
Zero conscience. It doesn't matter what I did yesterday. Today's a new day. I know who I am. And by the way, I love the way they played the action differently. Al Horford up on a lot of those screens. But let's be honest about it. Like later in the game, a lot of Steph's shots were short. It wasn't because he was getting contested. They were open shots. They were just short. He'll be fine.
And so we should take from that what? Maybe just tired? He carried such a huge part of the load in Boston in Game 4. Why are shots short?
Well, I mean, shots short due to your legs. But, I mean, also it's just sometimes you have those shooting games. I mean, sometimes it's not there.
It's just not. We just don't ever see it from him, right?
But we do. We've seen it.
But not like that. He hadn't had a game where he didn't make a three in 3 years, including the regular season. Amari, for him coming off a game like that, what do you expect from him tomorrow night?
He's going to show up and show out, man. I think, after having a game like that, you know why you didn't score the ball or make a three in Game 5, right? So you know what you have to do to get prepared. And like Jay was saying, his legs could have been tired because he's carrying a load for this team. And so now going into Game 6, he's going to be fresh and ready to go.
And so how about it? What do you expect from him specific? 8 for 12? He gets 12 looks?
I wouldn't be shocked if he goes 8 for 12. And as Jay said, they have made a little adjustment to that drop coverage. He absolutely eviscerated them through 3 games. That drop coverage has been much better in Game 4 and Game 5. He's going to figure out a way to get 10 to 15 threes off.
By the way, Greeny, if they lose, like if I'm Stephen Curry, I don't want that damn MVP. You can keep it. I don't want to be reminded of me losing in the NBA Finals. And by the way, if Boston is able to win Game 6 and Game 7, do not sleep on Jaylen Brown being the MVP.
Yeah.
Do not sleep on that.
Yeah, if they wind up winning, someone will be the reason why, and then we can have that conversation then. But let's say he does play big. Let's say he wins it tomorrow night. And Steph now finally he gets the 4th championship. After Kevin Durant, he wins one, and he gets the Finals MVP. I would argue that would be the most meaningful of his career from a legacy standpoint. It's our job to sort of define legacy. I don't know what would mean the most to him. That's his business. But as far as what it would mean for his legacy, I would argue to do it after Durant leaves, to finally get the MVP trophy, that this would be the most significant championship for his legacy.
1,000%. I think so, too. I think 2 things happen. I think you now talk about Steph in that top 10 greatest of all time. And also, I'll tell you this. If you think about the tier of coaching, where does that put Steve Kerr? Like, if you think about the greatest coaches in the game, Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach, Pat Riley, Greg Popovich, is Steve Kerr at number 5. 4 championships, 6 NBA Finals in 8 years. It starts that conversation.
In terms of the MVP and the significance of that, I think more about this championship and the significance of that for Steph Curry and the Warriors. From being away from the spotlight, being away from the stage for 2 years. Steph has that wrist injury in 2020. Clay misses 2 years. The journey back to this moment, yes, I think that's more meaningful even than the first one.
I think so. And then the two in the middle are always going to remember they was just unfairly good. They added Kevin Durant to a team that had 73 wins. How about it? Would this be the most meaningful championship for Steph?
I think so. I just think the battle of coming back to this moment, playing without Kevin Durant, kind of somewhat rebuilding, restructuring your team, bringing in Andrew Wiggins, guys being injured, having a frustrated situation with Clay being injured. That was tough to deal with. And now to see those guys back into the NBA Finals and Steph Curry playing at a high level, like you say, he's in his prime and he looks